Once again, good afternoon from Ghana. My name is John Agri. Today, we are going to delve into something that we all have been talking about, and that is what the Sustainable Development Goals. On the heels of what has been going on, the high-level political forum on sustainable development, building back better through partnership. What exactly are the roles and how is the youth and civil society plugging in for us to achieve Agenda 2030? My name is John Agri. I will be your host for today's session. This session and webinar is proudly hosted by Hyde Consult with support from the CSO Ghana, from the UN Major Group for Children and Youth, the Decade of Action, the African Youth Commission, Council of Local Experts, and our very own Great Minds Empire Africa. Thank you so much for making today a reality. Now, let's talk a bit about the background. The COVID-19 crisis is likely to have a profound effect on the progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. And I believe we all know that is very true. COVID-19 is not only a threat to our health, but a human crisis of multiple dimensions. It might push tens of millions of people back into extreme poverty and hunger, and is impacting the livelihoods of half of the global workforce due to unemployment or underemployment. What is the rationale? As stated by the UN Secretary General, the 2030 Agenda is a roadmap, and its goals and targets are tools to get there. It is on this premise that this high-level political forum 2020 side event, which is hosted by Hyde Consult, is to provide a great opportunity to the youth as well as civil societies to discuss the themes, the SDGs under review, identify new issues, listen to our voices, and help spread greater awareness of the 2030 Agenda, as well as the SDGs in all levels. Now, a little bit about the organizer's profile. Since we are dealing with the youth, Hyde Consult is a youth-led social enterprise with expertise in management and consultancy. They focus on their critical needs, as well as creating opportunities through strategy, operations, whilst delivering all this through a digital medium. Now, to introduce our speakers for today, we have Kate Andere. He is a professional internet consultant and a digital activist based in Kenya. He has done extensive work on digital rights, including access to information, internet affordability, as well as ICTs in Kenya and across the African continent. He serves as the Director of Programs at the African Youth Commission, a Pan-African youth network present in 46 African countries. Today, he is in the capacity as the Africa Regional Caucus Coordinator of the United Nations Major Group for Children and Youth. Thank you, sir. It is a privilege to have you on board, and we welcome all your submissions. Thank you. Our next speaker will also be in the person of Ms. Viola Nakimbugwe. She is the CEO and founder of Sprout Up Youth and Women Initiative, SUYAWI, which empowers youth as well as women in economically disadvantaged communities in entrepreneurship. Ms. Voila is the special advisor to the continental president of Great Minds Empire, Africa. And by profession, she's an accountant with bachelor's degree in accounting and finance. She is here with us to discuss also on the topic at hand. Thank you, Ms. Viola, for coming in to represent. Now, all the way from South Africa, we have Portia Mabasa. She is also the General Secretary General for Great Minds Empire in South Africa and the founder of Voice It Up Africa. Now, Voice It Up is a youth-led movement for the youth on peace, justice, meaningful youth engagement, empowerment, policy, and advocacy. Ms. Portia is a staunch advocate in the elimination of gender-based discrimination. Thank you, Madam Portia, all the way from South Africa for representing. And from Ghana, we have Obed Rocky Dazi, a 16-year-old activist, philanthropist, a social entrepreneur. Now, this young man brims full of energy. From the day I met him to now, I've been wowed by his level of expertise, his passion, and that goes to say his quote for life, I'm passionate about making a difference now to affect the future that I hope for all will be an inspiration for young minds. Aside that, he is the founder of Voice on Demand Youth Empowerment Movement and the country director for Zero Hour Movement. It is a privilege to have you here, Master Obed, to join us with your energy and youthful exuberance. Thank you so much for being here. Also, all the way from Zimbabwe, we have Madam Tilda Magoba. She is representing Yauda Zimbabwe in the capacity as its Assistant Executive Director. Now, Yauda is the Youth Alliance for Leadership and Development in Africa, a non-profit international organization established in order to create a resourceful networking database for those with a strong interest in Africa. So this goes to say that our program today is of a regional caucus where we have embraced everyone to have a say on the platform. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here with us today. And also, our speaker, we have Joseph Kobla Wimako. He is a multi-award winning freelance journalist and blogger, a prolific writer. In summary, it means that he is a media personality. He is the head and media communication at the PLO Lumumbu Foundation, the Ghana chapter, as it's also PRO of the Greater Accra Regional Youth Network. He is a fellow of the Bloomberg Media Initiative and the African Financial Journalism Program. He is also leading in the capacity as the Executive Director for HRRG, which talks on human rights reporting. Yes. It means in a nutshell, he is a media powerhouse. And to the very own, Tamar Monday Yari, he is an educationist, an economist, a youth advocate, a business development enthusiast. This personality here embodies a whole lot of portfolio that we cannot fill in our slide. He is the continental president of Great Minds Empire Africa and the CEO of Mitam Industries International Limited. Now, a little bit about Great Minds Empire. They are a charitable organization, non-political, a social organization, which has a primary goal to engage in the task of making Africa great by finding practical solutions, considering their recent project that they've been running for 3 weeks now, Education in Africa, which has brought together to the table high-profile universities across the world and in the diaspora to find sustainable and innovative ways of raising the digital education in Africa, a very laudable initiative of this exemplary man in the name of Tamar Munde, who is building a continent where the youth are motivated, skilled, and innovative to appreciate the good deeds to raise Africa to where we want. It is a privilege and honor to have you here, sir. Thank you very much. And again, I say, I'm the moderator for the day. My name is John Agri, and I'm the founder and CEO of Hired Consult. Thank you. All right, people, I want to appreciate you all for your time, for being here, and to all the participants who have made it possible. It is you who are the success story. So we shall delve into our meeting for the day, and we shall begin. Now, to read a few comments here, we say good afternoon from Uganda, and we have good day leaders, that is Musa from Nigeria. All right, greetings to everyone. We have also Rustam Baratov also here. Hello, Rustam. Rustam, are you here with us?
Right. Yes, thank you. I'm here, dialing from New York. It's been a great introduction.
Can you hear me? Baratov, can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Great, great. All right, that's good. Would you want to say a quick word before we begin? All right, people, I think we shall go straight to our speakers. And let me see if we have Kate on the line. Kate, are you here with us? Oh, that's great. We have greetings from India. We are really represented here. So people, I think we shall go straight to our first question of the day. For our panel discussion, we have our first question, discussion point. So we're going to look at assessment, the impact, the lessons, inclusive participation, and then data-driven. These embody the social development as well as the scientific methodologies and also the environmental scope of the SDGs. So without much ado, we'll go straight to our first question. It says what? Where do we stand in terms of achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the SDGs at the time of COVID-19? And how can we protect advances made thus far on the SDGs? We also have Tilda Magoba from Zimbabwe. She's also one of the panelists. It is a privilege to have you here. So I'll put up the question again. And first, we shall start the first question with a man of the hour, the journalist, Joseph Kobler with Macau, an award-winning journalist. Hello, Joseph, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
That's perfect. That is perfect.
Can you hear me too?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
All right. All right. All right.
All right. So our first question for the day is saying that.
All right. Please go ahead.
Where do we stand? Let me put it up for you.
Okay. I think this is one of the greatest questions so far. We I must say, we are at the crossroad right now, looking at the era in which we find ourselves. With the advent of COVID-19, we all know that the hardship that it has brought. It has triggered a lot of how do I put it? A lot of bad things. Currently, the world has come to a standstill, or the world has been put to its knees because of the devastations that COVID-19 pandemic has brought. For instance, we are talking about issues of health crisis. People are sick. People are dying. The that has even exacerbated into food crisis, health crisis exacerbated into food crisis, which is a global challenge which we are all battling right now. And um, we know that some gains have been made by certain countries, and as due to that, the SDGs is getting a lot of traction with some acts. Somewhere in May, we know that countries are supposed to come out with reports on the targets, the indicator of targets, where they have reached, how they are, advancing before this deadly pandemic, reared its ugly head into the world, and then things have come to a standstill. Lockdown, we witness lockdowns here and there, so things couldn't go the way we intend them to go. And as such, it is in a way obstructing the progress of the SDGs or the 2030 agenda. And we all know that we have about 10 years more to go. And this particular year, 2020, happens to be the year that everybody who is one way or the other doing something to help the progress of the SDGs, everyone's eyes is on 2020 because it has become a limelight year, if I put it that way. So with this pandemic, I must say that moving forward in terms of progress of SDGs has become a roadblock. So it is not easy where we are standing now, but there is hope. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, so there is a gleam of hope if only we are able to manage the situation carefully. Hello?
Yes, we
Am
can.
I lost? So where we stand now, we are at the roadblock. Moving forward is a problem. Remaining still is a suicidal, but we need to keep moving.
Thank you
I
very
don't know
much.
if you have a
Yes,
follow-up
thank you
question
very much,
from me.
Joseph, for the opening. As you have rightly said, we need to keep moving forward. We need to keep moving forward. That is in order. We need to keep moving forward. We'll surely come back to the moving forward on that in subsequent questions. Let me move to Sir Tamar Munde. Are you there with us?
Yes, I am very much available.
It is an honor
Thank you.
to have you here.
The pleasure is all mine.
Yes. Now, to also throw light on the question at hand, what is your take on that?
Okay, just as the other panelists or speaker have said, we must forge ahead because there is no need for us to start throwing a blame game. Because if you look back, dated back in the history of the SDGs, started with MDGs, back in 2000. Mathematician will tell you from 2000 to 2020 is around 20 years. and we're talking about 2030, remain 10 years or 9 years to make these goals actualize. You know, from our point of view, we have done well. We have not actually done well, you know, but thank God for advocacies like this, where it has become a wake-up call. Because if you ask in Africa, how far have you gone in the area of poverty? How far have you gone in the area of zero hunger? How far have you gone in the area of good health and well-being of every person in the world? How about the gender equality? Is everything being done equal, or, you know, whatever? How about the climate change? People are still screaming every day, stop doing this, stop doing that. And it was a privilege to be part of the climate program you organized. So when you look at the 17 goals that we are talking about, you know, we are still in a vicious cycle. You know, we are still rounding in the same place. You know, life below water, life on the land, so much needs to be done. Let's assume there was no COVID-19. You know, can we be where we are, you know, in terms of the write-up? No. So a lot of effort needs to be put in place, and so much. Let's just stop the game, you know, the blaming game. But to say that we have actually done well in the area of making these goals achievable, I think no. But we have some indices that have dropped, like the rate of HIV and AIDS that has dropped. You know, people now at least have a little access to education than before. You know, in those areas we have been able to handle that, but people are still wavering in poverty. Hunger is still there. COVID-19 has even added more. So I think in the course of the discussion, we'll talk more on those areas. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Tama, for that opener. As you was also saying, we need more efforts to realize the goals. And at this stage, we have to stop the blame game and not put it on COVID-19. But you really asked a very, very good question there. If there was no COVID-19, we'll be where we are. I think before we wrap up this session, you may have to also give an answer to that. Yes, so I will move on to Madam Viola to also share her thoughts on that. You're welcome, Madam.
Hi. The 2030 agenda seeks to ensure that all nations and all people everywhere are reached and included in achieving the SDGs. Where we've reached right now, there have been bright spots of progress. For instance, the global population are living better lives, and infant mortality rate, infant mortality under the age of 5 has declined. However, advancement across most of the global goals has been sluggish or even reversed. Today, 700 million people still live in extreme poverty. Over 170 million remain jobless, and more than 70 million seek refuge. Famine, extreme climate events, overpopulation, water scarcity, gender-based violence, and the rise in armed conflict and extremism continue to define lives around the world. At this time of COVID, some of these things have actually worsened. For instance, we've seen an increase in the cases of gender-based violence, a case in point of Uganda, and poverty due to loss of jobs. People barely can feed themselves. They stay home, they have nothing to eat because of the lockdown measures, which have been going on for a while. So I think the situation at the moment could be going a little bit worse. Yeah, because of COVID.
Thank you very much, Madam Viola, for that opening. As you have said, at this time of COVID has opened up the propensity of what gender-based violence, as well as other societal vices and menace. But then, if I may also ask, so what exactly about COVID-19 has put all these societal issues to the front? And how has that also impacted the goals, the sustainable development goals? Based on your introduction, what do you say to that? Madam Viola? Okay, people, we shall move on and come back to that. There is a brilliant submission here from Dr. Buje, he, the founder of Team 54 project, saying that the disruptive nature of things only have shown that the solutions will truly be completely different from how we know to address issue 9 months ago. So to move forward, it will require disruptive blueprint that must now embrace sustainable development with a renewed focus on genuine implementation. Thank you very much, Dr. Buje, founder of Team 54 project. That was a very good submission there. And then also he goes to say the blame game truly should end, but it's disruptive time so that governments can now not government that have not been doing really well will be happy to blame COVID-19, which is very true because people, governments, institutions, civil society, a lot are blaming COVID-19 for the stalemate. So this is a very good submission from you, Doctor. We really appreciate this submission from you. Thank you very much. Now, to move on also to our other panelists, Obed, can you also share your thoughts on this for us, please? Thank you.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be on this panel. Concerning the topic of discussion right now, I strongly believe that the Sustainable Development Goals is it's at a point of developing. That is what I strongly believe in because I did a little bit of a research and then find out the countries that are progressing or were progressing before the pandemic hit. And then you find out that these countries were countries that were already progressing in social, impacting social goals as well as economic growth. We have Norway, we have Sweden, we have the Netherlands. These countries were already doing well even before the pandemic hit. And they were already doing well even before the Sustainable Development Goals were introduced. So we cannot say that the Sustainable Development Goals isn't working or wasn't working before. But what we can actually say is it is actually working, but it's working at a very slower rate. And the pandemic has not come to worsen anything. That's what I think. But the pandemic has rather revealed how bad our approach to solving some of the problems in our communities were. The pandemic has revealed, the flaws that were in our approach to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. So I sat down and then asked myself that COVID-19 has been, has affected the world, so hugely. And I was asking what the SDGs did that has served as an advantage right now. So what did the SDGs do before that is serving as an advantage right now? And through my research, I couldn't find anything much that the SDGs was able or has been able to attain that is serving as a very huge advantage to help resolve the problem right now. That means the approach we were using before wasn't enough for future problems, wasn't enough to face, bigger things. So in as much as the global pandemic is causing so much of a distraction, I think it is helping us in developing our approach into achieving the aims of the Sustainable Development Goals. So at the point, I think it is at a stage of development. It is at a stage of being renewed. It is at a stage of being better. And if we are able to, learn from the experience and then better than we were before.
Okay, I think Master Obert's service is off. Shall we hear also from Madam Tilda? Madam Tilda, what is your submission on that scope?
Thank you very much, Mr. John. I suppose on the issue of Agenda 2030 being from Zimbabwe in the past year, I have seen how the government our local government has tried to bring to light the various causes of poverty and the downward spiral that our social service delivery had taken over, I guess, over the past couple of years right from the 1992 drought that we had up to, I guess, the point that we had a new dispensation. It's difficult to talk about any kind of development in Zimbabwe without bringing in politics, because it plays such a huge role in our country. And I suppose I've seen the civil society and the government come together with the setting up of an anti-corruption commission, which in Zimbabwe is regarded as the biggest cause of poverty and the economic disparities that we have, the issue of different forms of disenfranchisement that we have in Zimbabwe, from the political to the disenfranchisement that's caused by the different social statuses that exist in the country, owing to the access to education, understanding that we have a private education system, then we have the public, and then we have the rural one. And even in the public one, which is supposed to include the rural one and the high density areas and the low density areas and schools in the central business district, you will notice differences from the schools that exist in the central business district to the schools that exist in the low density areas, the high density areas, right up to the rural areas. And when I talk about these differences, I mean the access to quality education goes down as it goes down the ladder as well. So we did notice the government trying to set up, coming together, signing MOUs with the civil society in order to curb corruption, signing with Transparency International Zimbabwe and the Swedish embassy, and trying to understand a perspective on corruption that tries to understand how corruption affects access to social services, because they've come to an understanding that when we don't have equal access to resources and social services, there'll always be a group of people that are marginalized, that are never able to achieve that economic equality and sustainable development. There'll always exist those imbalances. I've seen them trying to go digital, especially in the COVID-19 era, which has cut down corruption and bureaucracy in so many ways for us as Zimbabweans, because bureaucracy is a very common system in our country. So you do understand that in order to cut it short, people just end up paying someone off, and you get to cut a long story short. But everything now has to go through a digital system because of the lockdown and because of the skeletal staff that are existing in various public offices. So I think towards Agenda 2030, I've seen it like like it has been said by Mr. Orbit, that we've seen it reveal the problems that we had in Zimbabwe already and bringing them to light. We saw our health system be developed. We saw hospitals being developed. So for us, apart from the economic impact of the lockdown, I think on the health service and apart from the education system as well, private schools are continuing with education. They're learning online, they can afford that. But schools in the rural areas are not able to do that. Some of them do not have electricity, let alone access to internet. So I suppose it's been very helpful for us as a country to in curbing corruption. That's one, and I think the government. I'll say since the new dispensation, the government has, that's in 2017 November. The government has managed to say we want to bring to light why we have. Why we have these social ills, and corruption was number one on that. And so we've just been able to have the government say, okay, we are putting in systems to monitor how public funds are used. We are putting in systems to watch how, to give people an opportunity to be able to speak up if they feel that public funds have been misused or abused. So I think towards Agenda 2030, we were doing well before COVID-19. The local government set up a youth development plan together with the National Youth Council, and they've managed to fund youth development programs from entrepreneurship to social innovation, and I've been a beneficiary of it at one point. So I think being able to open up spaces of intergenerational dialogues with the local government and with young people is something that has opened up spaces for young people to be able to move forward towards equality for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that insightful, well delivered keynote from Madam Tilda, all the way from Zimbabwe, representing Yauda, Zimbabwe. Yes, but if I may ask a question, there is a question for you from Baratov, who is saying that can you share an example of support you receive from local government in achieving the SDGs? So is the government of Zimbabwe making any efforts in achieving the sustainable development goals? Madam Tilda?
All right, thank you. I think looking at the plunge that Zimbabwe took, that the country took in 1997, right up to probably present day, looking at that plunge and the efforts that government has put in place, there has been efforts put in place. There's always efforts put in place by local government. But I think the one thing that we have noticed as a nation is the follow-up, the lack of follow-up and implementation. I remember at one point, the government put in place, I think that was in 2009, the government put in place a solidarity initiative, that an economic blueprint that allowed for young people to be able to get business loans that they would not pay back without any collateral. And what that fund was supposed to do was to promote entrepreneurship in young people. And it was supposed to also promote South Africa has BEE, and that was our form of BEE, Black Economic Empowerment. That's what the fund was for, and that's what the economic blueprint was meant to do. But you do realize that there was no follow-up. Implementation was there, but the money never got to the people. There has been more Ponzi housing schemes in the country than they should have been, simply because at one point the government decided that it wanted to assist the civil servants are government workers, yeah, and it wanted to assist them with housing loans. And a lot of people came into play pretending to be government officials, and a lot of people lost money. They were paying for housing loans for 5 years, and never got the houses. So you do realize that there are so many initiatives that have come into place. The youth development fund that I'm talking about, there's always money that spills over into the second year if a budget has been made for a year, because it has not been made public that there's a youth development fund that is for young people, that is for the youth. And at the moment, they're also assisting young people who have their businesses affected by COVID-19 with funds. But you do realize, again, there are some people that are writing fake business plans and businesses that never existed, and they're having these plans signed by government officials so that they can get the fund. So we will continue to have a problem of not having that checkup again on an initiative that has been put forward to assist towards development and economic empowerment for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that insightful submission and clear practical example of government institution. So we can attest that now the SDG goals, the acceleration as well as the COVID-19 has been now blended as a one. So in all practicality, you cannot even understand whether the money or the funds available is for COVID-19 or is for the SDG, because of accountability and transparency. Thank you so much for that. Now, to move a little bit to the participants, Dr. Buche, are you there? Would you want to share your thoughts? We've seen you are very active in the chat. Would you want to share a few thoughts on the question with your submission, please? All right, people, let's move on to the next question that we have, which says how can the responses to the impacts of COVID-19 accelerate the implementation of the 2030 agenda and the SDGs? With the responses that have come in, how is it affecting the implementation of our SDGs? On this note, I call on our brother, Monday Tamar, to open the floor on that submission for us.
Okay, can you just come with a question again? Sorry.
All right, let me put it up for everyone.
Okay, that'll be cool.
All right, this is how can the responses to the impacts of COVID-19 accelerate the implementation of the 2030 agenda and the SDGs?
Okay, thank you so very much. Just as Albert said, I always tell people that COVID-19 is a blessing in disguise, because it actually unveils how weak and how sluggish we have been for quite some time. Right now, every nation is trying as much as possible to put their health sectors in order because of COVID-19. I want to assure you that there will be post-COVID-19 and the health facilities will remain. So, every nation, in the case of Nigeria, there are a lot of check and balances in most of the ministries. We had a meeting with the power sector yesterday, and they're talking about making sure everybody have light, making sure everybody has something, what she's doing. The government are trying to create over 700 jobs. Is it 700 or 7,000 jobs for young people? This was due to the response towards the COVID-19. So COVID-19 has come to test what we have done in actualizing the agenda. And COVID-19 is just laughing where he is. Like, oh, you guys are not prepared, and you have been screaming, this one and this one. So I think the response in that matter is, and I'm telling you, the response is quite a good one, because globally, people have now, start coming together and see what they can provide solution to this menace. And I'm telling you, war will never remain the same again. You know, people will start putting heads together. You know, as part of our initiative, you know, we have started distributing educational material. You know, we started in Ghana, and one of our country is Zimbabwe. And thank God Trida is here. She says so much because I watched a documentary. You know, the documentary title was is it Unforgettable Children of Robert Mugabe, something like that. And the video was alarming. You know, how the schools are not being taken care of and the rest of it. So this was due to the response to COVID-19. We are trying to, you know, try as much as possible to start distributing laptop, gadgets, you know, for people in both the rural and urban area to start making use of, you know, and we hope in response to this, some nations, just like Nigeria, you know, where you have free school from some level to some level. You know, I hope that in response to this COVID-19, some other African countries will implement that in their national policy, where you don't need, education should not be something one should struggle. It should be your right. If actually they want you to vote them into power, you should be able to know how to vote, why you should vote and everything. So education should be part of it. So I think response to this COVID-19 will actually help us, you know, in achieving sustainable development goals. Because after COVID-19, if you calculate the trend or the response to the SDGs, you know, it will give you a high value, or it will give you a high number than it has been before. How many countries, you know, after passing, but some countries in Africa passed budget in June, July. Some countries in Africa have not even passed 2020 budget. You know, but now every country is trying to, you know, make sure things come all right. And even the Ministry of Health, every question, oh, why didn't you were giving money to do this? What happened to it? I'm telling you, after COVID-19, there will be a lot of exposure. There will be a lot of forensic auditing in almost all the ministries in Africa. Just hold on and you see. So I think response to it will actually help us. So there is hope, you know, for the actualization of the SDG goals. Back to you.
Thank you very much for that analysis. And I perfectly agree with you on that COVID-19 has actually laid to bear our preparedness in accelerating the Agenda 2030, which goes to say we are not 100% prepared, because now it's more of scrambling, putting together inputs, efficiency ministries, putting together budgets, which are actually meant for the SDGs. Now everything is being funneled into COVID-19. So which means that COVID-19 in actual sense has made us know that Africa, and actually globally, we are not prepared. There is a gap. So on that score with Dr. Buche, founder, I would really like you to share your thoughts on that question as well. If you are free, please do share your thoughts on that.
Yes, thank you so much, Joseph, for this wonderful discussion on panels. And these are one of the things I tell a lot of our friends, that see, Africans are very smart people. Yes, they may not be in the position to advance some of the systems that are existing now, but if given the chance, or if the roles are reversed, that we would have done way better. And sometimes some of the positions where we have found ourselves are as a result of us ourselves. Now, in response to your question, what we fail to realize as Africans is that the leadership plays a long role in what will happen in our lives. We've always known that right from our childhood. Every one of us knows that whoever you put in the government will determine how far you will go. Yes, there are exceptional cases where people just jump out of the loop. But tell me, how many people in Ghana have 1 million people jump out of the loop? No. How many people in Nigeria have 1 million Nigerians jump out? All you know is Dangote, right? The last time if I ask you in Ghana now, who have been the greatest person you see? Jerry Rawlings. Jerry Rawlings is more than 30-something years ago. There are children that have been born in between. My point is this: if we are going to develop, we would definitely need to change everything. COVID has pressed the reset button for us. My fear is that, have we changed? I will explain to you. Now, the way we source for our local content, you know, remember in school days, nearness to raw material is very key for us, dropping the cost of any product or any goods. Nations must be able to source for division of labor within themselves. Nation must be able to also make austerity measures rather than then trying to live a luxurious life. So what has COVID done? COVID now has created an opportunity for us to catch up with advanced nations, for those of us that are smart. Not that we will outpace them, but we will now be able to use this leverage of COVID now to get the level of development that we need. What level do we need? We need to advance our educational platform. Now, don't get me wrong. People keep on saying education, education. Education that we know is cognitive. So what it means is for you to be the next Bill Gates, you don't need to go to the university to know the existing system. All you need to do is know how to reconstruct, you understand, and then fit your own convenience at the reality in which you are in. What it means is this. So we know fully well that in Ghana, that people are struggling to get education in classroom system. But now we now know that classrooms are no longer defined by the walls. They are defined by the content in which you can give people and how you can create platforms that are accessible for them to have the information. Now, that simple explanation means digital platforms are the future. So it will really be very awkward for anyone to think in Africa that for you to now advance and be like America and Dubai and Nigeria and all those advanced nations, that you will not need digital platforms. You are just fooling yourself. So whoever we are going to elect must be able to see that vision. Then finally, our response is this. Africans must start buying African things, must start sourcing for African content. I will explain to you. In the United States of America, they are in a dilemma now. 85 to 70% of what they produce, whether it's laptop, toothpick, anything, comes from China as raw material. The last 7 months, there have been a disruption in the trade. So that has started causing a lot of increase in some goods. People are not feeling it now because government stimulus package had been released way ahead of time. But in African country, we are feeling it. In Ghana, the price of rice has increased by 27.8%. In Nigeria, it has increased by 175%. I can assure you in Zimbabwe and in all these other countries, it will, because all our dependence on the finished product all come from outside, and the disruption in the trade has exposed everything. So what has COVID done? Any smart person now who is good in economics, who is good in trade, must now know that local content must happen. Government policies now must be tailored that, see, if we have a rice production, we do not need the finished product to come from Africa. We must find a way to manage and improvise. My point is this. The only way we are going to solve this problem is if all of us that are young people begin to redefine what leadership is. We know where our leaders have failed. There's nobody that will come here and tell me that everything is all right. It's not true. If it was so, we will not be seeing a lot of things. All the things that are currently going on have been happening before now. That's why most people do not believe the COVID exists. But we know it does. But because people's psyche and mentality has been affected, people have been brutalized. Human rights abuses have gone to a level that even people do not see COVID as so bad compared to staying in a prison. So the point that we should do, and what I think this event has exposed to us, is we're all thinking alike. It is, what do we do from here? All we can do from here is support Africa, support ourselves, young people amongst us that are doing innovative work, young people amongst us that are creating simple apps that can, we need to now sing their praise. Now, these young Africans that represent us in international organization or in government must now begin to source for ideas that some of us that are not close to government must have. I'll give you an example. I created an app that can help people be able to pinpoint in real time extreme weathers. By extreme weather, I mean, if there's going to be a drought in the next 3, 4, 5 years, there should be a way that technology can be able to pinpoint, since we know all the parameters that are responsible for drought, increase in temperature, dying vegetation. If we're able to put all those things in a digital app, we can notify a farmer that rather than plant a rain-fed crop, there's a drought coming in 3 or 4, 5 months. There's flooding that's going to take place in this community. Don't develop here. Having an app or having an idea or a predictive capacity ahead of time is one of the ways advanced nations went ahead of time. This is the time to have a predictive approach to us addressing this. And our African leaders, especially our young representatives, telling our government that now is the time for you to tell advanced nations to transfer all the technologies that they currently have so that we can be at base level advancement. While advanced nation now will now need to create a new system. There has to be a new system of governance. There has to be a new system of financial input. That's the only way we can go forward. So thank you for this presentation. Please, this is what we should be having even at the UN, at African Union. Not all these other things they are doing. It's a distractive time. There's so many things going on at the same time. I understand that there's rise in gender violence and everything. I totally get it. It has been happening before now. But I want us to know that at this point in our lives, something is happening at the global level. None of us now can have any value on your money. Whether it's your cedis, whether it's Ghana's currency, whether it's Nigerian currency, everything has failed. So for you not to think and know that global economy or global governance has shifted, that even the democracy you are preaching may not exist in long time, because at the end of the day, if you cannot provide security, provide food, provide prosperity, provide the pursuit of happiness, nobody's going to stay. So the sooner we start to attack our problems locally, while we look for global perspective, the better for us. Again, Joseph, thank you for this wonderful stuff. I've learned a lot, you know, but these issues are issues that every country and every continent must begin to see and look for easy way approach, you know, to integrate everybody. I'm not talking about youth, I'm talking about everybody. There needs to be an intergenerational approach for us in moving forward. God bless you all as we continue in this narrative. Support ourselves, support initiatives of good young people that are doing wonderfully well. I've heard of a lot of your guests here. Let every one of us get to know what they are doing, see whether it can be reproducible, compare it with what happens across board. Those of us that are on social media, this is the time not to be making music and dancing and tweaking. It's all over, especially for Africa. For advanced nation, yes, but for Africa, those days are all gone. This is not the time of marrying 70 women. It's time to sit down and start asking ourselves, how can we quickly press this reset button so that we can now meet up, if not compare ourselves with advanced nation. Thank you, and then God bless you, and God bless every other person.
Thank you very much for that passionate and powerful delivery from Dr. Buji. We really appreciate your submission on that score. Now, before we move on, there is a question from Rebecca in the audience saying that now that technology is actually the solution, how do we make sure it is inclusive? So I think I will open up this question to the floor. Anyone who wants to, the first person to, maybe you can raise your hand and then I'll call out to you if anyone wants to answer this question, that now that technology is the solution, how do we make sure that it is inclusive as well as in achieving the SDG, because we are now in the digital space? How do we make it inclusive? Obed, would you want to share thoughts on that question?
Yes, please. Thank you
Great.
so much. Yes, regarding the question, it's a very interesting question, and I really love that it was brought up in the discussion. I think individual approach to the advantage is what will help in achieving the goal. Now, you know, I would say that a lot of young people now have access to technology. They have access to phones and computers. Now, the big question is, what are they using it for? And how did they see the machine in front of them? Do they see it as just a machine for having fun? Or they see it as something they can use to easily connect to the globe? Or they see it as a machine that, you know, has made the world a global village in such a way that you can easily sell the idea that you're having in your head without having to make a move to any place. So individual approach to the advancement of technology in Africa is one thing that will help us, because we shouldn't be waiting for the government to take a step before we decide to also do something. We shouldn't be waiting for the government to start introducing, you know, an advanced technological education before we decide to learn it. Personally, I learned a lot of things regarding technology by myself and not in school, because the education system doesn't provide some of these things. It is more focused on grades and, you know, results. But I realized that with technology, I would be able to build myself as a young people ahead of my classmates and, you know, be thinking and acting into the future as well. So I was able to tap into that ideology that I realized the Western world was using. Learning, and there are a lot of courses available online, but a lot of young people do not know some of these things. There are a lot of easy things that young people can learn and then gain experience from, but a lot of young people aren't using the technology efficiently. So I think individual approach to the new advancement is one thing that will help in implementing it more in Africa. Because if I start it, I would definitely empower other young people to do so. And I'm not just saying, I have experienced it where my friends are following my lead from learning more from the technology than what is being given in the classroom. So if we start it, we will be able to empower more and more young people to also engage themselves in. The reason why I'm not mentioning the involvement of the government is it is high time Africans stop depending on the government to provide some things that we need. It is high time we moved our minds from the government and started focusing on how we can promote ourselves. Because if they could help us, they would have helped us a long time ago. Young people have had ideas in years. Young people in the 2000s, in some years ago had big ideas, but they couldn't, implement those ideas because they were waiting for the government to give them the opportunity. So I think young people should realize that this is not a time to be calling out to the government for help. This is the time to build in your own space as a young person. This is the time to be building your own future as a young person. Because the person ruling the seat or the country is a millennial. He's not going to inherit the future that you are hoping for. It is your future. So it should be your responsibility. So I think an individual approach, as I said, is a huge way into achieving the goal.
Thank you very much for sharing more insights on that question. Now, before we move on, I would like to acknowledge some personalities in the house. We've got representative from NYCR. I've seen Ali, Alina, and Maria in the house. If you'd want to share thoughts on their ongoing discussion, please, the floor is open. Maria and Alina, welcome.
Hello, can you see me?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Alina and I'm a representative of National Youth Council of Russia. And I just, first of all, thank you for this session. It was really interesting for us. And in Russia, we have a program, 17 ambassadors of SDG. It's supported by Ministry of Science and Higher Education, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and Federal Agency of Youth Affairs. And we try to involve young people, 17 young people who represented each goal. And we try to involve them to international platforms, to national platforms, and they involve young people in this Agenda 2030 and this program and this actual challenges and problems. And I think that's all of my side.
Thank you very much. It is a privilege to have the National Youth Council of Russia here, also representing and sharing their thoughts. It's an honor to have you here. We hope you all enjoy and then take back some lessons to the government as well as the youth on today's session and how we can all build back together, as the theme says, through partnership. So High Consort is also open to your council, where we can leverage our skills and human resource in shaping the future we want. Thank you very much. Okay, people, we have 4 hands raised. So let's give the chance also to our participants so that they can also share in their thoughts. Okay, whose hand is up? All right, people. Hope, would you want to add a touch on it?
Thank you, everyone. My name is Hope Mauritia from Uganda. I would like to respond to the question of technology being inclusive. I want to acknowledge that for the technology to be inclusive, we have to change our mindsets and we stop procrastinating issues. We need to rise to the change and the challenge of ice breaking to attain the change we want to see. We must be the advocacies for the change we want to see. In this case, I believe that we can attain that in a short period of time if we take a generalized shift towards development that leaves no one behind by transforming deep-rooted systems, governance structures, and a business models that are often based on equal distribution of wealth and decision-making power. If we center that, we shall be good to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that submission. Okay, Michael, yes, you can also share your thoughts. Michael, your hand is up.
Yeah, okay. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity given. I would like to say I really enjoy the session from all the previous speakers, and I think with the issue of advancement, the technology advancement inclusive, I believe that as a young individual or as an individual moving forward, you need to make good use of the environment and whatever that you have your hand on with. We have been, I would say that the youth have been abusing social media in so many ways that the mobile phones and all the electronic gadgets that we have, we can put it into good use. As Dr. Banju said, he developed an app. Yes, if we are using our electronic devices very well, I think we can develop a whole lot of things from it. When we sit down to read and learn much in the social media, in the internet, we can develop our personal goals from this. If we want to advance in your life, you look at what you want in future, you peg yourself at the future. Maybe you have a goal set for yourself, a plan. I have 5 years plan for myself. By that 5 years, I want to achieve this. How effective are you going to use it? Or are you spending most of your time just reading WhatsApp messages, just tweeting and Facebooking? No. It's time we learn more with our electronic gadget, bringing it together. And with this, I think the CSOs can also help in, because let us intensify education of the importance use of these electronic gadgets. When we get the education more, yes, the education is already there. Let's ask ourselves how many people are putting this thing into a good use. We are just abusing everything, spending much time reading unnecessary message in quotes. But let us read a productive items on the net, and we can come together and build a better world for ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael, for that submission. Now, I think we'll move to our next question for the day, and then we'll come back to entertain more hands from the panelists as well as the participants. And our next question for the day goes as: what are the lessons learned from COVID-19 crisis that can help increase country resilience and embark on risk-informed, sustainable, resilient development pathways? So I think we can break this question into two. The first part could be, what lessons has COVID-19 taught us? And using these lessons, how do we increase our capacity? How do we increase a well-informed, sustainable development goals, both country level, regional level, continent level, as well as the global community? With this, we'll start the question with Honorable Joseph. Please, you have the floor. Hello, Joseph.
Yes, myself, right?
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. That's one of the exciting questions. Yeah. I think COVID-19 has brought us a lot of good things. One of our panelists just said that, and I go with that person. A lot of good things. One of them is personal hygiene. Gone are the days. We know that health is everything. If you are not healthy, healthy mind, healthy body, yes, you are alive. But if things doesn't go on well in terms of health, forget it. You can't go to work. You can't do anything productive for yourself. And that is one area that the Sustainable Development Goals is focusing on seriously. Now, personal hygiene, if we said COVID-19 has exposed us, the system is so much exposed that all our loopholes where we are falling short, all those things has been exposed by the global pandemic. And we must be grateful that despite the fact that the harms it has caused us is more, if you weigh in terms of if you quantify it. But then there are good points to dwell on. There are good things in them. You see, we don't take our health care situations seriously. We know that observing the protocols, washing of hands with soap under running water, sanitizing. When you come back from work, you are from anywhere, and you enter into your room, the first thing that you have to do, you have to wash down. When you are in public places, even if you are shaking hands, you can use a sanitizer. But before COVID, we know that these are things that we have to, do to ourselves, but we don't do it. But the coming of COVID has taught us that, has put us on our toes, that we have to take these things seriously. Now in Ghana, usually when you take a commercial vehicle, we call it in local parlance, trotro. You see, they park people like we are tin fish. But now, what do we see? Because of distancing, observing social distance or physical distancing, there's always a room for a seat to be, left alone, whereby you are seated. Even in aeroplane these days, what do? We see that they are leaving a seat somewhere, and everybody is, careful the way he or she goes about sneezing and all that. You have to use your bent elbow each time you sneeze. But gone are the days. People don't even use their handkerchiefs. They do it in the open. And it's not only COVID which infects people when such things are released. When you are talking, sometimes the sputum, you release those things into the atmosphere. If somebody is suffering from a sickness like tuberculosis or other sicknesses that are airborne, you are likely to contract it. So COVID-19 has really positioned us to be able to take these issues of health very seriously. And we must be grateful to that. And by so doing, it is also helping us to be able to achieve our goals, our targets, talking about the SDGs. And a lot of good things, how we have to live together as one. COVID has also brought that. So in all, COVID-19 might have brought bad things. I did an article called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. We have the good aspect, we have the bad aspect, and we have the ugly aspect. But in all, we must be grateful that COVID-19 has come, and because it has taught us a great lesson that we must not forget about.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for that submission. As you have rightly said, one key thing COVID-19 has brought to us is on personal hygiene, which we used to take for granted. That, as some people will say, that our hands have now even taken more alcohol than we have taken through our mouth. All right, on that score, I think we'll move to another panelist, and then later we'll pick two more submissions from the participants. So, Madam, what do you also what lessons has COVID-19 taught us, and how can we use these lessons to help us get an informed, sustainable, and resilient development? What are your take on that, Madam Portia?
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. By my point of view, COVID-19 has brought hygiene into our lives. Most of us, we never knew what hygiene was. Imagine going to the toilet, coming back without washing your hands. You are going to grab a food. Remember how it is going to affect other people inside the house. So we have to thank COVID-19 that it has brought change to us, but sometimes it has also brought us some sadness because it caused a lot of stress and economic finance, okay? But it has done us a great thing and inspiration. Most of us, we never knew what sanitizer was. We won't admit that we never knew sanitizer, but it is true. We never knew it at all. But COVID-19 brought us to know what sanitizer is, how to cough when you are in front of people, how to handle yourself. Putting yourself from social distance is the best way to survive. Without COVID-19, where would you be right now? Maybe there was going to be another sickness being caused by us not washing our hands. So I would like to thank COVID-19. It has brought a serious change into our lives. Okay.
Thank
So
you. Okay.
sometimes we need to focus on something that is truly affecting us and take it seriously. As we Africans, after this pandemic of COVID-19, we need to hold our hands together, support each other, work together to fight back, to get our lives back, to give education back to our children. Because everything is delaying. People are losing jobs. Kids, they are not going to school. The schools are being closed. For example, in South Africa, some children are going to school. In my province, some children are going to school, but others are not going to school due to what? They found the positive kids. And those kids, they said the cause of the COVID-19 was caused by the sanitizer that they are using. The sanitizer had less alcohol. It was 57%. So do you see that sometimes government is not doing anything that is really helping us? I don't know if someone has a question about that. I was talking about the sanitizer that caused children and teachers to get sick due to sanitizer. Is there any question?
For now, no. But what Rebecca is saying, that COVID-19 has taught us to wash our hands more than 10 times a day, and it is
Yes.
true. But the whole thing is, you can wash your hands 20 times and you still not get the effect if you're not using the right sanitizer,
The
as
right,
you just rightly said. So sometimes it's not about the number of times, but it's about the quality of the product. As people are trying to make profits
yes,
in creating more production, looking at when the demand was high, they did not even factor the right quantity and ingredients in making the hand sanitizer. So
yes,
inadvertently, we may still end up going outside, coming home, you think you're okay, you wash your hands, and then you apply the hand sanitizer, and we go to go. But still, people get infected. So as humans, we need to move away also, but also look at the humanitarian aspect, that even if you're able to make a little of the profit, it is better than making so much and then what? A lot of people get affected. So thank you very much,
affected.
Portia, for that. You are very right. Misinformation is a very bad thing, and illiteracy has also been one key thing that is also affecting us. But COVID-19 has also come to share its own claim on that. So we believe with this, we will rise up and face the world together. But then, on that score, Rebecca is asking, do the masks have side effects on someone's health? I think we will digress a little. I don't know if you would want to answer this question, or we pass it over.
Can you repeat the question?
It says, the masks, do they have side effects on someone's health? That is from
Yes,
Rebecca.
yes, I think so. I think the mask had some side effects because we are breathing the same air. Your air don't go out. It remains inside the mask. And that air that you breathe, it becomes hot when you are busy breathing because it has no way to go out. It can also cause the sickness because the bacteria is not going anywhere. It is remaining inside the mask. Do you understand? Imagine if you are wearing a mask for 2 hours. That breath becomes so hot. You even sweat in your mouth. You can feel it that I'm sweating. My nose and my mouth are both sweating because of what? Because of the air that we breathe. So the bacteria is not going outside. It's inside. And when the steam is hot, the bacteria becomes more active. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that one. And that also brings in mind to the kind of mask one can actually wear, because now it's actually becoming a fashion. People are wearing masks of fashion, thinking that when they step out into the public domain and they see the designer mask you are wearing, it actually has a bearing to your level of health assurance. But I must tell you, the fashion of the mask does not have any bearings to whether you're going to get COVID-19 or not. In actual sense, it puts you at a risk. So please, if you look at the efficiency of masks, which is ongoing, you realize that they have the N95, they have the surgical mask, they also have the FFP1 mask, we have the activated carbon mask, they have the cloth mask, which is found very common now. And then we have the sponge mask. I don't know who came out with that mask, but I must tell you, the sponge mask, which people claim is a fashion one, has no effectiveness. Its effectiveness is actually zero. To fully protect yourself, you need either an N95 or a surgical mask or an FFP1 mask. And if you want also for a double protection, it is better to also add a face shield. But I ask myself, you have a mask on, you have a face shield on, what kind of air are you breathing?
Yes.
What kind of air are we breathing? So the only solution is, if you have no business outside, stay at home, period. Stay at home. So we thank you, Madam Portia, for that score. Madam Viola, please, your submission on the question at hand, if you can also share your thoughts on what lessons has COVID-19 taught us, and how do we use these lessons to accelerate our sustainable development goals. Using your country as an example, what lessons has COVID-19 brought to the country, and even you yourself? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Agre. COVID has awakened the need for us to strategize and come up with solutions to reduce its negative impacts. For instance, many people have been left jobless, and others in employment are insecure. Yeah, because we've seen many losing their jobs, but we've seen many organizations coming up and boosting SMEs and also empowering the young people to work. For instance, yeah. So organizations have come up with programs and skilling programs. For instance, in Suyawi, we've been having an online skilling program, and it's a free program because we knew that in this period, people do not have the money to pay for such programs, and yet they have the desire from interactions with many of them. And so we decided to come up with different skilling programs so that at least we can equip them with the various skills that they need to add on the skills that you already have, and at least have something to earn an income for self-sustainability so that they don't live in a place of insecurity. Yeah, and also COVID, this crisis has awakened the need for humanity, whereby everyone's life matters. We've seen organizations coming up together to make sure in Uganda, mostly, because I don't know about the other parts of Africa, whereby people have been concerned about each and every one. Like I'd never seen something like that happen. For the first time, I saw people concerned about the lives of other people, whereby, because in this lockdown, most people didn't have access to food and all these other things, but we saw people coming up, organizations, the private sector, and leave alone the government, individuals, to give people food in their communities so they can be able to survive. And so for me, that's actually a very good thing, which has been awakened in the hearts of people, because I'd never seen it before. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Viola, for that submission. Yes, as you have rightly said, the spirit of Ubuntu, that is humanity, is what togetherness and consciousness awaken. And as you said, that COVID-19 has awakened the need for humanitarian service. That is what service to humanity. That this COVID-19 has made us show empathy to one another. Now, one which has rightly been put in the chat box says what? As we are looking at preventive measures, we should also look at what? Food security, more than the virus, because now the whole attention has been drawn to the virus. So though we are trying to survive, eliminate, prevent, and cure ourselves of the virus, we have actually left our home wide open, because now the whole attention is on COVID-19. What of the food security, gender equality, climate change, peace? What about all these? But then now, if you actually go to the table and decisions have been made, it is all in quotes, COVID-19, COVID-19. That should not be. So in actual sense, COVID-19 is fighting us, using us to beat our own system. Because now we are like robots. If tomorrow there should be COVID-20, trust me, all attention will move to COVID-20, and then COVID-19, which is still pending, will be now put in the back door, in the archives. But the question is, we keep even building on the problems with problems. That is it. So then how then do we even achieve the SDGs? That talks about what? Universal healthcare, universal well-being, mental state of mind, food security, no poverty, peace, justice. How do we even talk about all the 17? How do we? So on that score, let's move on to our next question, where we shall have, but yes, Hope. Let's hear from Hope what Hope has to say, and then we'll move on to the second question for the day. Hope, your hand is up. Please share with us your thoughts. All right, people, let's move on to our next question, which says, with the roles of youth and civil societies, which is actually the theme for today, what are the ways to ensure that these actions, we do not leave anyone behind. With the role of youth and civil societies, what are ways to ensure that these actions do not leave anyone behind? Because now more attention is drawn on COVID-19. What about the targets that we need to achieve to realize our Agenda 2030? What happens to them? On that score, I will open it up again for Master Obed, who will start with this. And then from there, we move on to Joseph and then Tamar Monday to share thoughts on that. So David, Obed, what do you have to say on this?
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think it is very important that we make sure that we are not delinking the priorities of the Sustainable Development Goals from the priorities of making the world a better place in terms of the current global situation. Because looking at coronavirus pandemic, I think it is so much related to the SDGs, such that every effect that it has brought on us right now is something that the SDG is trying to fight against. Talk about poverty, talk about food insecurity, talk about gender-based violence, even climate injustice, because we should understand that if the pandemic dies down, countries will try to boost their economies, and then they will definitely begin mass production, which will obviously lead to a destruction to the environment if we do not take care. So everything that the pandemic came up with is something that the SDGs is trying to fight against. So it is not, we cannot delink, the priorities of the SDGs from the priorities of fighting against coronavirus. I think they work hand in hand in order to make everything achievable. But then also we must understand that in order to not leave anyone behind, we must involve everybody. So one mindset I want us to develop is the United Nations cannot achieve the goal by themselves. It is not the responsibility of the United Nations alone, because it is not about the United Nations alone, it's about each and every one of us. So if we are all deciding to take responsibility of what is going on right now, to make sure we are taking action, we would definitely not leave a larger percentage behind, or possibly not leave anyone behind. I was having this discussion with my group, and then I spoke to them about how much food they waste in their house. I told them to calculate the amount of food that they waste every day, every month, and yearly, and then calculate the number of people that food they wasted could have fed. And then the responses that came out were real. We waste a lot of food, thinking the United Nations is trying to fight against food insecurity, so it's the responsibility of the United Nations to do it. What if every household is supposed to invest in that section to help solve the problem? We would definitely be able to move forward. So I think in order not to leave anyone behind, we must all include ourselves with every bit of a resource that we have, and not see something as too small or something as too big. And usually, especially in Africa, people think about planning huge projects in order to make a difference, but it's not about how big it is. It's actually about the difference it makes. And one thing I would like to raise is achieving the SDGs is not about the number of people it's able to reach. I think achieving the SDGs is about the quality of how the services are delivered. So at the end of the day, it's not about getting education everywhere. It's about getting quality education. Because at the moment, we are boasting of education in Africa, but we should ask the question, is the education in Africa quality enough to provide or secure jobs for our young people? No. So we have education, but it's not quality. So one thing about achieving the Sustainable Development Goals is not just about the quantity or the amount of people that we are able to reach. It's about the quality of the services that we are able to provide. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Obed, for that. As you have rightly said, that building back better can only be done not just at the multilateral level, but also it cuts across from the individual, family, and society. I think that is a very great delivery. And also the quality of service delivered is much more important than the number of projects that one company or country can put across, which means that it has to be realistic and time-bound priority in achieving the Agenda 2030. Before we move on, I'll give the floor to Baratov to share more light on an earlier question that was raised so that we can learn from experts as the questions come in. So thank you very much for being here. The floor is for you.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much, John. It's been very insightful and resourceful. I have some connection to Africa where one of my cousins, for example, has spent some time in in Africa performing surgeries and helping the local medical services last year. And I've been engaged as well, like with some like more like on food insecurity with a friend that built a, I would say like a box that could preserve food in high temperature environments, which has been very useful. And they run it in some countries like South Africa and Central Africa, Burkina Faso. I think it's called Wakati from Swahili language. One thing I would like to highlight, I think like, so my background is from Belgium. And when I look at Belgium and some other European countries that had a lockdown, a very stringent lockdown, and then when things, you know, got better, everyone relaxed and a lot of people just started going out to cafes, started going out to like bars, and you saw these parties without a face covering. And right now what you see is there is actually reintroducing this face covering or wearing masks because like of like potential second wave. I think it's a lot about responsibility of people and self-awareness for maintaining like social distancing. There's a whole discussion on like social distancing from WHO. At first there was a whole discussion on wearing gloves and protective wear, which in the end they sent out a communication saying, well, actually it's not true because the virus, and we've done some research, does not stay as we thought like on different surfaces. I think it's a continued discussion which goes back to people around you and being aware of your own surrounding and thinking of how can I make sure that I protect my beloved ones, how I can protect people I care about, but at the same time I, you know, take basic measurements. I think what's been interesting was that some of you have shared is it's not always easy. And I know like I grew up in Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, and I spent some time like in farms and places where we were very secluded from like the city, and we had to walk like a mile or like a few kilometers just to get water. So it's not easy, and I think that's what, in my case, in my opinion, a lot of the governments should realize is how can we make sure that we first provide those basic necessities and we focus on making sure that people have access to water, like drink water, like health, like medical supplies. And then we can also make sure that we reinforce those measurements. And I think like in some cases, like governments trying to reinforce those measurements without realizing that there is this whole issue on, you know, those basic needs that people have to kind of go through and the challenges. And you know, like sometimes it may seem easy to looking at Europe or like some other countries, but there is a lot of like discussion of refugees. There's a lot of discussion on actually just like sustaining that need before actually addressing like COVID. And I think COVID has shown us a big opportunity on making sure that we build cities for resilience, or like we build things that are resilient in case like something else would happen in the future. And I think I read from Daniel, one of the points he highlights that like it's important to have like a multilateral agenda. And I think, John, as you said, the African Union, like when you look at their engagement at the UN level, for example, it will offer an opportunity to work together, like as one union, like as all countries together on that multilateral agenda. As I think in the past, a lot of those topics were left like to individuals, like health, like medical supplies, like water, and a lot of support came from NGOs. Like a lot of support came from internationals, but it should not be that case. I think it should be the government's responsibility to make sure that their citizens are provided with the basic utilities and supplies so that they can actually fight it against. So thank you.
Much, Bartol, for that, all the way from Belgium, and the practical lessons.
I'm actually based in New York right now. It's very interesting to not be able to be at the UN during the HLPF, but I think it's a great opportunity to join like events like this.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kind words. We look forward to engaging more, where both the African continent and the other continents can build through solidarity, partnership in scaling up more developmental projects. On that score, we'll move to our last question for the day. And I'll start with Monday Tama for that question. And it says, how can we help to strengthen a data-driven implementation and support evidence-based swift decision-making? All this is geared towards achieving the Agenda 2030. Let me put that on the screen. All right, it says, how can we help to strengthen a data-driven implementation? And then by using this data-driven factuals to support the execution and accelerating the targets of the SDGs. So over to you, sir. Monday Tama, we are happy you are here, though your busy schedule will not permit. We appreciate you very much.
Okay, thank you so very much. You know, this session has been very, very educating. And can we all hear me?
Yes, please. We can hear you.
Okay. You know, basically, one of the problem of Africa is we don't even actually have data. I'm telling you, because when this COVID-19 show up, you know, and let me use Nigeria as a case study, a certain amount of billions of naira were set aside as COVID-19 economic stimulus. And the Minister of, is it the Minister of Human Affairs or whatever, you know, she make it public that they have spent over billions of so. And people were like asking, how did you get your data from? So I think there is need for us to pay critical attention. If actually we are saying that, okay, we want to have a zero poverty in the next 2030. The question is, how many people are living in poverty right now? Do we actually know how many people live in poverty? I'm telling you, we have over 80 people living in poverty. I'm telling you, it may look as if we are living large, but there's a standard that some of us are still struggling. Before you use your money to buy something, you have to think twice, you know, because you don't actually know what the next meal will come. So we just need to, because without data, even the 2030 will change it, because it has been changed from MDGs to SDGs. Maybe the next one will be FDGs. You know, if we don't have data, and again, I keep on wondering, I said, until you actually know the problem in discrete, in number, you will find it very difficult to put resources around. Let's assume, you know, we are over 1,000 people in this platform, and you make arrangement for only 100 people, there will be a disaster because there were no data. So I think it's very necessary for us to pay critical attention to data, because if we have data, automatically we actually know how, you know, we will tackle the problem. This is just a scratch. There are so much to discuss about this discussion, but data is very, very, very important. I was part of the one meeting held by African Union, and they were talking about African youth. I was like, these guys, do you guys even actually know how many youths are in Africa? You know, because you selected 10, 20 African Union ambassadors, and you think they represent the whole Africa. We have so much, we have people with great minds. Imagine, doctor, that develop a mobile app that can tell you the drought for the next 5 years. Come on. You know how many farmers we have in Africa? The government will push that man idea aside and they will go and spend money on something. We cannot develop if we don't patronize ourselves. We're inferior to ourselves. How can we then grow? So data is very, very important. If actually, it's just like I was questioning someone about this African Union agenda. There's too much agendas. African Union are even having problem, agreeing with the SDG. No. We have our own plan. United Nations have their own plan. I was just asking myself a question. I said, yes, automatically, we must have been told that, okay, if we do this, the 19 SDG goals, but we were not given the practical step in actualizing that. If actually you said, okay, there shouldn't be poverty in the next 20 years. Okay, there shouldn't be poverty. What else can we do so that that poverty will not be there? Imagine you said, I want to lose weight, and keep on telling people, I want to lose weight, and you don't do anything about it. Losing weight is not just about saying, I want to lose weight, but there are things you need to do. And what are those things you need to do? You need to watch your diet. You need to go for exercise. If actually we want to achieve all these things, we need to actually develop a practicable model, workable model that suits our system because of our peculiarities. Africa has different, in some countries, data are very cheap. In some countries, data are very expensive. Africa, so much. So we need to work in the area of our data. It's very, very necessary. I'm telling you, when it comes to data, Africa is absolutely poor, because if I ask you how many women you have in your country, it will be very difficult. Even Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria, I don't trust them any longer because we don't have 2018 data. If you are looking for any 2018, if you visit www.Bureau of Statistics Nigeria, it's only 2019, 2009 information you'll be seeing. People are still making reference to 2020. In Nigeria now, people are not actually understanding whether if we are 200 million people, over 200 million, we see, keep on hearing, a minister will come and say over 180 million. Someone will say we are over 200 million, and you'll be like, the disparity is just too much. So for us to be able to back these agendas with practical actions, with evidence proofs, that information is vital. And the advocacy groups, we need to actually, advocate for, a data-driven economy. We must actually know what we have at hand so that we'll be able to make plans. How many people are out of school? We don't even know. How many people can afford schools? We don't even know. How many women we have? How many people have been, so much. So I think is so much need to be done. For us to be able to do, we need to pay critical attention to data, statistics, very necessary. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You are right, rightly right. I said, we cannot develop ourselves if we do not patronize our own and ourselves. And we need to have a working model that fits the African region. That is very key. We need to have a working model, not adopt or adapt a model that does not fit into our terrain. That is why even some of the products, they even tell you this product is fit for this terrain, either tropical or for the temperate zone. So we need to have that, which is very, very, very key. On that score, I'll move to Joseph, if you can share your thoughts on a data-driven approach in achieving the sustainable development goals. Joseph.
Wow. Myself, I'm lost of words because I think Mr. Tama has taken the wind out of my sail. He has really hit the nail on the head. The things that I want to say. Notwithstanding, I just also want to make a few comments here. Data is key in everything that we do. Even in your house, in our own house, we are able to take stock of food and other things that we have, and that help us to plan on our meals and all other things, our activities. In terms of budgeting, data guides us a lot. So in a nutshell, data is key in helping us achieve our goals as far as the Agenda 2030 is concerned. And significantly, our government, I must say, is also not doing very well in terms of coming out with research that can give us the kind of data that we need to be able to use to help us in our developmental agenda. So we really need ourselves as humans, civil society organization, non-governmental organizations. I think it's a call to, in one way or the other, come out with research that we can figure out the kind of data that we need to drive us to be able to achieve the goals that we want. I will say finally, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Viola. How do we move to a data-driven implementation method in achieving the SDGs? Madam Viola, for our final questions. All right, let's move on to Obed. What do you have to say on that?
Okay, thank you. I am very much inspired by most of the things that the speakers have said. In as much as a young person, I'm here to speak. I'm also here to learn. And today, I would say I've learned so many things that I didn't know or didn't think about. Concerning data, I would like to raise my voice on the fact that we ought to demand the real data, and then we do not have to be accepting the data that the government has been providing for us. Usually you hear what the government usually says regarding data is we have about this number of people, we have about such number of people, but about is not a specific, figure to help tackle the problem. So I think we should be calling out to the government, raising out our voices for the real data, for the specific information that we need, instead of waiting to be fed with what it has to give us, basically. But then I would also like to share, I think Madam Portia said something regarding education, and I'm a young person. I'm in my first year of senior high school. I'm basically representing young people on this platform as well. And it will be unfair if I do not raise the situation up in the discussion. That African leaders regarding not considering the current situation of the inability to control the virus in Africa, they have still decided to reopen schools for young people to go and learn. And I'm in Ghana, so I'm speaking from that experience. And young people are complaining. I have cousins and siblings who are in the senior high schools, and they're complaining of not enough food in the boarding houses for them, because already the government is focusing on how to solve the problem of the pandemic. But then it has also introduced the education and traumatizing these young people. Already the young people were not psychologically ready to go and learn. But then we have been compelled to go to school, not considering our mental health situations. And then when they sent us to the schools, they are traumatizing us physically, mentally. Now, young people have started contracting the virus. A student has already died. Young people in the boarding houses, in the schools, are afraid of what they can contract. And how did they expect? Is the government expecting us to actually learn and write examination? Is the government trying to say that they're putting grades and results of our lives? That's exactly what the government is trying to say. But I'm also disappointed in a lot of youth organizations that we have in Africa, and especially in Ghana, that a larger percentage of youth organizations, or organizations that represent themselves as ones that fight for young people, are not saying anything about the situation. No one is talking about it. No one is raising their voices against it. Yes, we identify as youth organizations. Is it because it's a situation for youth? I just don't get it. And then also I'm disappointed in the celebrities and the people we look up to. No one is actually saying anything. No one is saying it on the news platforms. No one is saying anything regarding young people. And it is a situation that has been reviewed by the pandemic, that young people are not really a subject of discussion. We usually don't come in the discussion. We are not included. Anything about us is a young person's matter. So it doesn't really matter. And it is really affecting us. And it has been affecting us. It is something that has actually affected our development as African countries. That's one thing that I wanted to bring up in the discussion. Thank you.
very much, Master Obed, for that submission. All right, people. Thank you very much. All right, people. So we have given questions out there and we've found answers as well as some controversies in the discussions ongoing. So in conclusion, we have to say particular efforts are needed to accelerate progress towards the target scheduled to be achieved by 2030. This high-level political forum, which this year has come, may also give us the direction on the kind of action to be taken with regards to those targets that are listed. Many of the transformations needed to realize the 2030 are possible, yet it requires strong institutions and integrated evidence and data-based policies. At the geopolitical level, the crisis calls for leadership, global solidarity, transparency, and I think I need to add here, accountability, trust, and multilateral corporations. When all these ingredients are put together, it embodies the SDG 17 that speaks on what? Partnership. On that score, I will check the chats if there are other contributions. You can connect with me on this email address. And then we will move from there. So I want to thank you all for the time here. It has been inspirational. You guys have been wonderful from the start of this program. We are happy to have had you here. It is a privilege to have welcomed diverse questions, diverse discussions from all over the African member states and across the entire global community on the high-level political forum on sustainable development in building back better through partnership, the youth and civil society organizations. I, John Agri, I am the CEO and founder of Hyde Consult, who are the hosts of today. And a very big thank you to our partners and our collaborations who have supported us in diverse ways. The CSO platform in Ghana, the United Nations Major Group for Children and Youth, Decade of Action, the Great Minds Empire Africa, who was ably represented here by the Continental President, and also the African Youth Commission, and finally, the Council of Local Experts, normally called COLE, which is based in Ghana as well as the Netherlands. We thank you all for making it today. Have a nice day and cheers. Feel free to connect with me, John.
Mr. John, you didn't let us.
Pardon me?
Concerning the data, like, so I think Madam Portia and yeah, and myself raised we raised our hand to make some.
All right, please shoot.
Okay, with regards to the data collection, to the SDGs, I believe or think that it's high time these various governments have a census. I want to make an example to Ghana right now. 10 years ago, we had a population census. 10 years today, we don't have a population census. Now, I want to relate this to the election concerning this COVID. For us to know the database, it's an election year in most of the African countries. What database are we using as an electoral commissioner to register the populace? How many children do we know that they are aged below 18 years? What are the middle class people that we have? What are the age people that we have? I think when the government from the various countries, Africa, especially African countries, have a database with these things, I think we will have a very good way of solving these SDGs in terms of poverty or whatever education level it is. Now, when you go to the European countries like this, they already have a database. Let's take it. When you are giving birth, the moment they enter your data, they start having their statistics. But Africa, we don't have that. So I think it's high time they see CSOs. I will always say CSOs because before government to take up this initiative, CSOs need to push them up. I will recommend Imani Ghana in one of his articles, which he says schools needs to be closed down or they shouldn't open schools. Now, Nigeria and Kenya, I think, are not reopening school. When it comes to Ghana, where we live now, you could see the number of students who are contracting this COVID-19. One, the first question we need to ask is, if they were to be in the house, what is the percentage or the probability of them contracting COVID-19? And they be in the school too, what is the probability? I think picking a bus from your house to the school is even prone to COVID-19 as compared to you being in your house without education, even though they implemented online learning, which are affecting some villages. But yes, we don't need to look at all those things and open schools. I think the data and these things need to be taken into very much consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. You have said it rightly, that data needs to be put into consideration. And I believe on that score, we shall end today's session on the high-level political forum on sustainable development hosted by Hired Council. Thank you, everyone, for coming. See you another time. Bye.
Thank you.